I want to tell you in 10 minutes how to grow massive boulder shoulders. What you're going to do is get the key formula, a step-by-step guide, and exactly what you need after this video to grow massive shoulders and to really get the size you want. So with that being said, guys, let's get straight into the video because this technique alone accelerated my growth by like 10x. So if we're going to grow massive boulder shoulders, we have to realize what exercises we need to be doing. And the way we're going to go about this essentially, guys, is making sure we overload on compound lifts. We want to hit the entire shoulder, and then we're going to use each isolation to maximize each angle of our shoulder. We have our front, our side, and then our rear delt. So that's the way we're going to do it, and I'm going to break it down exactly how you're going to do this. So first, we need to understand our compound lifts. Our compound lifts for our shoulder are the way we're going to hit the entire shoulder to make sure we get the growth we need to increase it in size and strength. So if we're going to ask ourselves how we're going to do this, the first step is outlining what compound exercises we need to grow, I guess, our shoulders to the size or the framework we want. So my number one way to go about this, of course, is compound overloading. And if you're not too familiar with this term, we're going to do compound overloading and actually do another one, which is called progressive overloading. And we're going to put this together and then use a step-by-step guide. So let's first get into a basic understanding of what compound overloading and what progressive overloading essentially is. So when we look at compound overloading, this is the ability to hit multiple muscle groups simultaneously, which of course simultaneously means at the same time. And if we could do this consistency over a long-term period, we're going to be able to increase the size because the numbers are going to just stack. You should aim anywhere between 3 to 5 times per week if you want to increase the size of your shoulders to really stimulate the growth we need. Next, we're going to use the other half of the equation, as I said, is progressive overloading. So progressive overloading is crucial, guys, because the way or essentially how progressive overloading works is when we get to a certain amount of rep range, so anywhere between 6 to 8 or the 8 to 9, depending on what your goals are. I say any more in the 8 to 9 range. What you're going to do is increase the weight, and then your reps are going to drop down to 4 to 6, and you're going to work your way back up. So if we do this, we use this model for anything we do. Say if you really want to, increase your shoulder size, stay in the 4 to 7 if you really want to push it, and then keep on going back. We know that the lower amount of reps we do at higher frequency weight will help us build more growth at a better rate essentially. But there's also another caveat to this that I'm actually going to leave this towards the end on how you can actually increase the size of your shoulder without increasing the size or increasing the amount of weight you're doing. It's a pretty cool tip. I'll leave that to the end just so you guys got that and just so you're on your toes a little bit. So as we understand that we've had both the compound overloading and progressive overloading, now we need to go into the compound movements for the shoulder. So there's a couple I really like to do. You can either go on a regular, dumbbell and use dumbbells overhead incline press. You can use a Smith machine, and you can use a machine shoulder press. These are the three compounds you could use, and these are all great. It's all based off preference, but the number one I go with is the Smith machine because I like how it's a fixed position and it really allows me to get the time under tension interval. That's the key number one thing, guys. Make sure you incorporate a compound lift to make sure we're hitting the entire shoulder. Next, once we have the essentially the ability to use this compound lift, we need to look at each angle of our shoulder. So there's three parts of our shoulder. As I mentioned, we have our front, we have our side, and we have our rear. And now this is where it gets a lot of people kind of fall off. So really pay attention here. Take out a notepad if you need. So when we look at our shoulder, the reason a lot of people don't get the growth they want is because they get stagnant growth. You get progress plateaus. And this is essentially where time outweighs results, which leads to demotivation, quitting, and makes the process very unenjoyable. I want to give you how you're going to overcome that. So the way to overcome that essentially is using variation techniques. So when we talk about variation techniques, variation means different exercises to hit the same muscle. So let's go into how we're going to do this. First, we're going to look at how we're going to hit the isolation at each part of the shoulder. So as again, front, side, and the back is rear. So front, of course, you could do front lateral dumbbells. You could use front easy bar. You could use I think those are actually the big two ones. You could do and the third one you could use cable movement and and do the same thing. So there's those three right there. And what I'm actually going to do, guys, is I'm going to leave a description down below. Just make sure you click the document down, and I'll actually give you some, visuals and a little cheat sheet document that you need to essentially get everything what I'm saying. Because I know for me, if I have pictures and I have, the ability to, really visualize what I'm seeing, then it clicks better in my head. So I'll do that for you guys. But in doing that, make sure you hit that subscribe button because it really helps out this channel and it really helps me know that stuff like this is helping you guys. So awesome. Make sure you check that out. So yeah, guys. So now we talked about the front isolation. We talked about the front delt. Now let's move into the side. The side, of course, we could do side laterals with dumbbells. You could do also with the cables as well. And there are some machines, depending on what gym you go to, that you can actually hit these side ladders. But I think the number one way to do this is cables because, guys, when you're doing cables, it essentially takes away the momentum. You're not using momentum from dumbbells, and you can hit it at all parts of the angle. From the bottom to the middle to the top, and that's a really good way of going about it. Next, we're going to move into the rear delts. So the rear delts, guys, is really I like the meaty part of the shoulder. It makes it very three-dimensional. And I think, as you guys could tell, I got the ability for it to pop really big. I mean, it makes your whole arm look bigger. And the essentially the rear delt is the most important part, and there's a lot of ones we can go into this. But the first one is you could take a pec deck machine, so the machine where you sit down and you go like this, and actually there's a different setting on it where you could do it reverse, so you get the ability to hit the rear delts. That's, I think, probably my number one because it really allows me to do that time under tension. It can really feel that mind muscle connection, the ability to hit it nice and slow. So that's my number one. Of course, we can use dumbbells when we bend our back and really hit the rear delts as well. And the third one essentially is we could also use cables. Cables are a little difficult for it. I'm not the biggest fan for doing rear delts with cables. There are ways to go about it. As I mentioned, I'm going to leave that document down below. But guys, I think the number one is the reverse pec deck machine. That is your number one way to build the essential three-dimensional shoulders, the rear delts, and really get them to pop. So when we put all this together, just to give you a short recap, essentially is we have our compound overloading and progressive overloading. We're going to pick our compound movement, whatever we want. Then we're going to go down into the isolation of each part of the shoulder. Again, as I mentioned, we have the front, we have the side, and then the rear. Once we put all that together and you guys have a plan, what I want you guys to do, this is the essential bonus tip I kind of want to leave for you guys, is what I want you to do now is take out each variation. So as I mentioned earlier, you have a variation of the front delt of how you're going to do it. You have the dumbbells, you have the easy bar, you have cables. Each week, to overcome the stagnant growth, you could interchange what exercise you do to hit that part of the muscle. So again, guys, maybe for 4 or 5 weeks, you stick with doing dumbbells, but next you want to move into the easy bar the following week. That's how we're going to overcome stagnant growth, because the way it essentially works is when your body gets accustomed to muscle memory, as I'm sure everyone knows, your body knows what to do. But if you mix it up and you try different things, your body has to adjust necessarily, and that's how you can essentially hit those muscles at a different angle, but essentially achieve the same goal. Hence, build more muscle, make the shoulder really pop. So again, guys, make sure you use different variations for each part, the front, the side, the rear. Now, the last tip I kind of want to leave with you guys, as I said, I'll leave to the end to keep you on your toes, is yes, you can increase the weight essentially to build a bigger shoulder. It's not rocket science. You guys know that. But another way to think about it is essentially you can increase the time under tension and really rip apart the muscle. Of course, guys, if you're doing weight that's very minuscule, you're not going to build muscle. But do a comfortable weight essentially that you're still in the, I guess, 5 to 8 rep range, but instead of getting those last 3 or 4 reps, try really pushing it out, time under tension, going a little slower, holding that squeeze at the end, and essentially pushing up. The more you do this, the more you're actually going to break part of the muscle, and then the better it can be rebuilt. So that's something that I've really, took to the next level, and I really think it's how allowed me to build my framework for my shoulders, the essential body I want at a quicker rate. So again, guys, I always keep these videos, and it's actually close to the 10-minute mark, so I'm very happy about that. I hope this video was helpful, and I hope you can build bolder shoulders from watching this video, and I hope I did just that. As always, guys, if you thought this video was helpful, please make sure you click that subscribe button down below. You smash that like button, or it even gives me a thumbs up. It really allows me to see that stuff like this works for you guys, and it really essentially knows that I'm playing a part in your fitness endeavors or any struggles that you're having, because we know the journey's long, we know it's hard, but it's the most fulfilling thing. So again, guys, what I want you to also do is please leave a comment down below. What's your favorite part of the shoulder you want to hit? You know, what part of the shoulder do you need help with, or what is your favorite part? I know for me, it's the rear delts. I think that's how it pops, and like that's how essentially I want my physique to be taken to a new level, because I think the rear delts is where it's at. So again, guys, please make sure you leave a comment down below, just so I can really get some of your thoughts, because I'm very curious. As always, guys, thank you for watching another great video on the channel, and I'll go ahead and see you in the next one.